Well, hello, and welcome back, listeners, to the Arrowverse Crossover Crisis Podcast. It is I, your host, Ashley, and has been over a year, almost two, since our last podcast. Of course, the coronavirus pandemic has slowed down the production of the CW DC shows, which meant we got no big crossover event last year. And even this Armageddon is not called a crossover, but a 5-part Flash event. But seeing as how it does have crossovers from other Arrowverse shows, I decided to include it here for this podcast. So, today we will be discussing The Flash Season 8, Episode 1, Armageddon, Part 1. So the first thing I noticed is the theme of this episode is all about leveling up. It's what Iris tells to Allegra. It's what Barry mentions to Ray Palmer. So I'm not 100% sure why they keep mentioning this theme of leveling up. Or are we going to see other characters level up in other ways? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it just has to do with the villain Despero and the crossover characters that are going to come join Barry to hopefully take him on. So the episode opens in the future of 2031 with Despereaux doing a voiceover and seemingly disappearing, going back in time to the current timeline that the Flash is taking part on. After that, Barry and Caitlin take a stroll to get some coffee. They start talking about Killer Frost, or just Frost, and her moping over her crush, Chilblain. Which, by the way, Chilblain is they call it out. It's a lame name, but it always makes me think of, I think it was, there was that magician, David Blaine or something Blaine, and he froze himself or in some ice or something. So that's always what I think about when I hear the name Chilblain, is I think of that magician. But anyway, Frost is pining over Chilblain, and Caitlin decides that, maybe it's time to start dating again. She says the first time since Ronnie, as if ignoring the time that she was kind of flirting with Zoom in disguise as Jay Garrick, and also she kind of sort of dated Harry Potter guy in season 3. So we're ignoring all of that because those sucked anyway. So Caitlin might think about dating again, and we'll see if that goes anywhere this season. Barry then stops a train, or 2 trains, from colliding with each other. I'm not sure why they're on the same track going heading towards each other. But apparently it's all part of some plot by the main villain, or a side villain of the story. And then after that we head over to Iris and the Citizen magazine that she has, or newspaper or blog or whatever it is, and apparently today it is a media company. So they got upgraded. Apparently Sue Dearborn bought the building, and so now they have an official office workspace. There's a podcast. She's doing a podcast. She has a whole hired staff writing articles. And, she's basically turned into, Cat Grant. She's got her own media company. And, good for Iris. Although, when did this happen? How did this happen? What? I don't know. But she's doing an interview with Captain Kramer, who apparently is out as a meta now. Barry calls out later that she has mimic powers. I don't know. Is her name going to be Mimic? Who knows? And she sort of says that, it only comes on during times of stress or something, which is not, the most helpful of powers. But, it's interesting, and we'll see how her character develops, especially going from being someone who hated metas to now she is a meta. So it's a little bit of irony there, but we'll keep an eye on that. And Iris just promoted Allegra to a manager or some other position. It's about time, but, Allegra seems to be a little uncomfortable with it, which makes sense. She's pretty young, doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but she's definitely proven herself to be a good reporter, and I think it's good that Iris promotes her. And I really like that Iris believes in Allegra, and she gives her this whole speech later on in the episode about how Allegra is the voice of the people, and she knows what to write about. And so I think it's a good step, and we'll see also how that progresses. And again, apparently this is some sort of multimedia news company. So, good for Iris, although I want a little more explanation about how all this came about. And then we get Ray Palmer stops by because he's in town for some sort of tech conference. And he decides to stay with Barry and Iris. And we find out that Barry and Iris's small little tiny apartment actually has 2 bedrooms. There's apparently a guest bedroom that just popped up out of nowhere. So that's interesting. But it's nice to see Ray here. I never watched the Legends show, not really. So I mainly just know Ray from the few episodes of Arrow I've seen and the crossovers that we've done. And I've always enjoyed his character. I really like Brandon Routh in the role. I think he's a lot of fun. He's very charming. But they mention, I guess he has a wife named Nora, and there's maybe a baby. So I'm not 100% sure who that is, what's going on there, and why is there so many characters named Nora on the show. There's, Barry's mom, and then they were calling the Speed Force Nora last season, and his daughter Nora, and now Ray's got a Nora. It's just too many. Stop repeating those names like Martha. So, then we get to sort of one of the side villains, the Royal Flush Gang, which apparently they're saying was the first metacrime in Central City, while Barry was in a coma in the very first episode of The Flash. I didn't actually go back to check to see if that clip from the newspaper that they showed was actually in that first episode. If not, then they're retconning it, but it doesn't really matter because I don't think we've ever seen this Royal Flush Gang ever really on the show. So this is basically just a new side villain, and who knows if they'll have a bigger role to play in the 5-part Armageddon, or if they'll be overall in season 8. So we'll keep an eye out for them. But I gotta say, I did not care for them. I thought they were lame. I thought they were over the top, and there's just way too many poker puns in here. I mean, so there's the Queen of Diamonds is like the leader, and she's just throwing out all of these like card game puns and her people, and she has a Joker character, and it's a little too cheesy, which the Flash villains kind of always have been. But I feel that we've kind of progressed past that kind of basic cheesiness. We don't need this many puns about cards. We don't. So let's move on from that. But other than that, they kind of looked cool, so we'll see where they go from here. One of the sort of main conflicts in this episode is Ray Palmer and him and Chester. Chester kind of, is taking the time to plan out Ray's day, and he's got these investor meetings lined up, and Ray's like, I don't really want to do this anymore, I'm sorry, and he disappoints all of these kind of fans, and I don't really understand what Ray's internal struggle is in this episode. He wants to be a family man, but then he also says something that he just wants to focus on the science and not be the atom. But he's also like the honoree at this tech company, and then he's also very quick to throw back on the atom suit. But then he's like disappointing Chester or whatever, and so it's very hard to tell what his actual internal conflict was. It's kind of all over the place, but in the end he says it's all about balance, and he can basically be the atom and be the tech guy and still give back to the tech community by creating a charity fund for Chester in the honor of Chester's dad, which I thought was actually a really nice move. But I like that Ray is kind of, he's a tech genius, and he's was one of the legends, and he's a billionaire, and he's a genius, but he's also just a real guy. And you can kind of make the comparisons of tech genius billionaire to Tony Stark or whatever, but and in some ways they're a little bit similar. Tony Stark towards the end kind of did start doing a lot of charity work, but I like that Ray is kind of learning the lesson, I guess, that Tony kind of learned in the last movies, that you have to sort of balance the family life with the superhero life with the personal tech genius life that you want to have. And so it's kind of an interesting story, but then I think Ray leaves at the end of the episode, so I was a little confused as, is this the only episode Ray Palmer is going to be in for this 5-part crossover? And then I looked at the poster, and I saw that there were 5 characters other than Barry and Iris, one being Ray, the other being Alex Danvers from Supergirl, Oliver Queen's daughter Mia, Black Lightning, and Batwoman. And so I was thinking maybe each one of the 5 episodes is going to have a different crossover character come in. And then it even name dropped Alex earlier to bring her in as sort of like an alien species expert. So maybe she'll be the next crossover character for the next episode. But I would like to see Ray come back. I hope this is not the last we see of him in this crossover, or this just Flash event, Armageddon. So hopefully Ray comes back. The other thing is, when did Cecile become a member of Team Flash? I mean, I guess she kind of always was, but she seems to be like hanging out with Barry, solving cases, and just chilling at the Star Labs, just waiting, helping out. And so she kind of is taking over the Iris role, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I just was curious, because isn't she like a lawyer for metahumans or something? So I don't know. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on that. We actually didn't get any Joe West in this episode, which I found kind of odd. They used Kramer and Cecile, but no Joe. So I wonder what his role is going to be this season on The Flash, because I do appreciate Joe, and I really like his relationship with Cecile. And then Barry and Cecile and Team Flash kind of figure out what this Royal Flush gang have been up to, and apparently they're building some sort of device so that they can rob cryptocurrency from the casinos. Okay. Anyway, the Queen of Diamonds, yeah, she's kind of stupid. They say that she's a telepath, so they say she can read minds, but people can change their mind, and she's not the thinker. And Barry does have super thinking speed, so just because you can read somebody's mind doesn't mean they're gonna follow through with that. So I thought she was kind of a lame villain. The whole gang I just thought was pretty lame. And then we get towards the end battle sequence, and Despereaux shows up at the convention asking for Barry, and that's when Ray Palmer decides to help out, become the Atom. So Despereaux is probably a character from the comics, but I have no idea who he is. He's played by Tony Curran, who actually is a really good actor, and if anybody in the fan community might know him from, he played Vincent Van Gogh on one of the episodes of Doctor Who with Matt Smith. And he's also in the Sci-Fi Channel show Defiance. He played one of the an alien race character in there. And he's been on a lot of stuff. He's a really good actor. And he has a really great voice, so I like hearing him every time he speaks. But apparently he's like a shape-shifting character. I don't know who this is from the comics. But when he shapeshifts, he kind of looks... The CGI is really bad, by the way. But he kind of looks like he's like a troll from WoW, World of Warcraft. It does not look very good. But again, he has a really great voice. And so Barry and Ray fight him, and Barry uses the Speed Mirage, which I don't think we've seen for a while. And I'm not 100% sure how it works. But it is cool, but unfortunately does not trick Despereaux. His mind is too powerful for that or something. But Ray manages to sort of break Despereaux's regulator belt, or whatever it is, his shape-shifting, time-warping, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey belt. And so he sends him to who knows where, we don't know. And Ray tells Barry that Barry just needs to show Despereaux who he truly is, because Despereaux thinks that Barry is the one causing the Armageddon event back in 2031. This is something that's never been brought up before. Barry's kids are from the future. How have they never mentioned this? It doesn't really make any sense. And why would Despereaux think that it is the Flash? Maybe there's a fake Flash in the future running around. But anyway, Barry manages to convince Despereaux to give him some time to prove that he's a true hero and that he would never hurt humanity. This is sort of a repeated element that comes up with the Superman character a lot, right? Anytime somebody has immense power, other people can feel threatened, and they need to be sort of guaranteed that they're not going to hurt humanity, right? So Barry gets some time, and hopefully other characters will come over and sort of vouch for him. But it kind of makes me think of, well, what is the conflict going forward? How does Barry prove himself? And what's going to happen going forward? And is this Royal Flush gang just going to be kind of a pain in the ass for Barry? I don't know. So we'll see. They also did mention that Iris is still suffering from some sort of time variance, disease, whatever, which again, all of last season doesn't make any sense, so we'll see what happens with her. She has some sort of time sickness from being stuck in, I don't even know. I can't even make sense of what happened last season, but we'll see if they continue to address that or not. The other things that I really liked Allegra in this episode. I really liked her trying to step up and be a bit of a leader. The employees, the writers that on the staff are kind of, a-holes, but, she's doing her best. One thing I did notice is that one of the reporters of The Citizen, one of the new staff, is an actress, Lindy Booth, who I have known ever since the Disney Channel show, The Famous Jet Jackson. That tells you probably how old I am. So if anybody grew up watching the old Disney Channel in late 1990s, early 2000s, you might remember the show The Famous Jet Jackson. She was the sidekick. I think her name might have been Hawkeye or something like that. And she was his sidekick on that show. She's also was noted for the USA show The Librarians, which was a sort of spin-off show of the movies, The Librarian. She's popped up in a lot of other stuff, television work, so I've recognized her kind of immediately. So it's kind of interesting to see her here. I wonder if she'll sort of be the sort of lead staff writer for The Citizen that, kind of speaks for everybody else. But it is kind of nice to have Allegra kind of step up a bit and take that sort of leadership position, because again, the whole episode's theme is all about leveling up, right? Again, I don't know how that's going to play out. But it is kind of cool seeing Iris in a bit of a different role, not the straight reporter role, but more of the sort of public face reporter role, like Cat Grant was, or like a Diane Sora type of character. Well, Diane Sora's a real person, but anyway, it's interesting to see where they're going to go with all of that. I really liked this episode. Again, the CGI on Despero Troll was kind of terrible, but I really liked what we got with Ray and Chester, the whole sort of bonding over the tech side of things. I really like what we get with Barry. We see him doing a lot of CSI work. Apparently he's the only CSI in all of Central City, because he has a giant warehouse office all to himself, which again, I don't who's running this department, nobody knows. Barry loves his job and he's still doing it, and so I really like that. We do get a mention of Sue Dearborn. I hope we see her. I know they're probably never going to bring back the elongated man, Ralph Dibny. I really did like that character, but I really liked seeing Sue in the couple episodes that she popped up last season, so I hope she comes back for this season. I would like to see her again, even though I don't think she has powers, but she's just really clever and kind of like a Catwoman type thief, and I think she could be she's a lot of real fun, so hopefully she comes back. And so this episode ends with not really much to give us going into episode 2. I really don't know what's going to happen, because Barry has sort of postponed the main conflict with Despereaux. So I'm curious. I did hear there's going to be some sort of time travel elements involved. Barry might be getting those gold boots, but I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. But I really did enjoy this episode. And it's good to be back on the podcast again with new content to put out. I am thinking of doing a full Arrowverse rewatch, which would be very daunting, considering I've never seen all of the Arrow show or Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning. I gave up on Batwoman. Pretty much I just watched The Flash and Supergirl, and I kind of gave up on that also. But I've been wanting to sort of go back and watch every episode in the Arrowverse, essentially just the main core shows. I did watch Superman and Lois. It started off great, kind of ended like a regular CW show. So I'm hoping that we can, I know the pandemic's really slowed a lot of things down, but I'm hoping that we can kind of get back to somewhat good quality with these CW shows here. But I am thinking about doing a podcast. If I decide to watch Arrow from the beginning, I might do a podcast. So let me know if you're interested in hearing that or not. But I will continue out the rest of the Armageddon. And I will see you guys in the next episode. I'm assuming it's just called Armageddon Part 2. So that will be out next week. So thank you all for listening. It's been a while since I've done this podcast. I don't know what the outro is going to be, but just thank you all for listening, and catch me next week. And I hope you all enjoyed the first episode, Flash Season 8, Armageddon Part 1. And I'll catch you all in the next crisis.